value. I go by Jenga D on almost everything, or Jengad, because I realized that seeing it and knowing that it's supposed to be Jenga D, two different things. Anyway, we're here with a handful of awesome DMs who have a lot of stories to share. So we're going to jump right in. So I am going to have a hard time keeping track of the chat. So I've made a few polls if people wanted to share their D&D experience. So this is the first of 3. You can go to menti.com and put in this code. I'll put the code in the chat so you can just copy and paste. And then we'll jump right in. That's not the correct number. I need an 8, not a 1. There we go. Moving right along. So I figured we all need to introduce ourselves. So if the panelists going from I see Vel first, so we're gonna go from, it's gonna be Vel, and then does everybody else see this line, or should I just have you roll now?
I'll see what you see.
Okay, cool, great, thanks Discord. So if everybody could roll a d20 and tell me what you get, that's gonna be our initiative order for the rest of the panel. And if you guys wanted to share your favorite D20s, go for it while I'm writing initiative.
I got a 9.
I got a 16. Yeah. So you got a 16 as well?
Yep.
Oh, what's your dex? Gotta do a tiebreaker now.
3B would have been a 7 or 8. 16 or 17. But Naomi is probably closer down to a 13 or 14.
If you guys wanted to play rollies too, I wouldn't. You know.
I mean, we can roll off for it.
No. Ladies first.
Okay.
Aww,
order I wrote down by accident. Vel, what did you get?
I got a 4.
All right. Am I missing anybody? I've got Eden. Dual. I'm sorry. Can you tell me? Dualigard, is that, how would you like to?
No, it's Dave.
Dave. Sorry, Dave. So I've got Eden, Dave, Vinny, and Vel. Am I missing anybody?
No, that's the 4 of us.
Perfect. The numbers fluctuated on who we had or who we didn't have, so I just wanted to quadruple check. So Eden, if you just go ahead and introduce yourself.
Fantastic. I'm Tanwin. I am based in New Zealand. As I said yesterday in the panel, I live in a town that is 40 minutes drive from Hobbiton, so I get to visit there semi-regularly. What are the introduction things?
Well, for right now, we're going to do names so that...
Yeah, so Tanwin.
Cool. Well, now we've already... Dave? And how many years has it been since you were a player, or are you also a player?
Well, luckily, yeah, it's been a week since I was last a player.
Awesome. Dave?
Oh, I'm Dave Houligard. I've been a GM, game master, for 42 years, maybe a little longer. Memory's getting thin. And I have, my most recent play has been 4 years, 5 years.
All right, somebody get Dave a campaign.
Looking to run more.
No, we want you to play.
To play. Vinny?
Hi, my name is Vinny. Last time I played was Tuesday, last week.
Nice. I think I knew that you were in a campaign, but in case we had any forever DMs, and anybody wanted to grab them into a group, I wanted to get that out there.
And I've been DMing for 20 years.
Nice.
And Vinny's actually in my game on Tuesdays, so.
No, I'm on your game on Mondays.
Oh, on Mondays. Sorry, Monday.
I was just gonna ask how you tell each other apart, but apparently days of the week is also.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know you. Why am I making fun of you? Because I'm a bard. Anyway.
Right.
Vel.
Was that? Oh, my name's Bill. I've been DMing since I was 15. You can guess how old I am. I'm not going to tell you. So, but the last time I was a player, for other systems, I've been a player a couple of months ago. But for D&D, it's been a year and a half.
Mm. So we've got Vel and Dave that could use a look for group if they're wanting to play.
I'm playing Ghostbusters in about 2 hours, so I guess that'll.
That's exciting. That'll feed the fuel. I'm morally obligated to say you should all go watch Ghostbusters, but in 2 hours I'm running a panel on or a workshop on creating a character, so you can go between them, I guess. Huh?
Roll off.
If you guys wanted to share your pronouns and preferred titles like GM, DM, narrator, etc., your preferred systems, and any socials you want people to know of, we'll go with Tanwin first.
Yeah, so my pronouns are she, her, and my preferred title soon to be Dr. Dungeon Mum. I'm currently just Dungeon Mum. And my preferred systems, I started on D&D 5e, but I have recently run a short campaign arc of Monster of the Week, and I very much fell in love with it. So yeah, definitely leaning more heavily towards narrative systems at the moment. And I don't really have any socials. I have a research page, but I never update it, so I'm just gonna leave it at that.
You're also finishing a doctorate, so that's
Yeah.
The other
Finishing
person
a
I know who's
doctorate and growing a human, so
that's a lot of work. The other person I know who's finishing a doctorate also has no socials, but is not growing a human. So I get it. Dave?
Yeah, my pronouns are he, him. What's the next question? I preferred title Game Master because I run so many different games. I've got over 223 in my collection right now. So multiple games. And my first game that I had was Steve Jackson's first game that he put out. It was called Melee, Death Test, and Wizard, and each one was a book that was about that thin. I mean, it was tiny. But that led him into his GURPS game. That GURPS General Universal Role Playing System was huge for a long time. That was my first. Bought it in Gandalf's Den, 1970 something.
That's awesome. Someday I will be able to be like, oh yeah, back in 2022, I played Netherdeep. That was my first campaign. And people be like, wow, 22. Vinny?
Hi. So my preferred pronouns are he, him. And like I said, 20 years DMing, 30 years playing D&D. Prefer DM because I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons most of that time. And my preferred systems are Dungeons and Dragons and All Flesh Must Be Eaten. And going along with that, my other secondary preferred title recently is Zombie Death. So,
all right. Sensing a theme.
With it now too. And socials, I do have a Twitter, but I'm really not good at it. So
cool. But he's also a Real Women of Gaming person, so he can be found on our website. By the way, I apologize, Vel. I'm gonna just shameless plug right now. To support Real Women of Gaming, Crimson, or anybody else, if you could put the Ko-fi in the chat. I just heard this number for the first time. I'm sure I've heard it before, but it really sunk in. We've raised like $10,000 for charity. But in order to support that work, we really do want to be able to support ourselves. And it would be really great to have that monetary support. So that's my shameless plug about how we do great writing. We run this convention. We run other charity events. We do a lot of networking in the community. And so to support that, you can go over to Ko-fi. Or buy our con merch, which you will be able to find in the I'm sure somebody will link it, but there's also a place in the con for the merch. So Vel, back over to you. I apologize for yoinking some of your time.
I don't care. I'm used to somebody talking about Real Women of Gaming over stuff that I'm going to say anyway.
I'm sorry. Actually, no, I'm not sorry because I'm a woman and get rid of sorry. And anyway, go on, Mel.
No, it's cool. So I don't. You can call me whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. I don't have preferred pronouns, but I don't really have preferred DM, GM. You can call me whatever you want. That bastard that tricked me into opening the mimic is usually works too. I like, of course, D&D is a preferred system. Old school Marvel with the charts. It's really fun.
Yeah.
Played that back in the day. Deadlands. Yeah, that's about it. Old school
Awesome.
second edition with the red cover books, like the humanoids book and stuff like that.
Yeah, where halfling was a class.
Yeah,
So
that's
now
my back in the
everybody
day.
has a section of recommended systems they might not have known before of all varieties. And that's why we need a variety of GMs for their experiences and their different passion projects, because I would never run a zombie thing. But if you're looking for that, Vinny's your guy. So, that being said, for anybody who's not aware, we're doing best and worst. I can't remember if I said that yet. So we're gonna ask these DMs some stories and preferences. Hello. So we're gonna ask these DMs some preferences, stories, and all of that. We're going into combat. This is gonna be a lightning round to keep the pace moving. And we've already rolled for initiative, but that's a really pretty die, so why not look at it? And there's another we'll look at these all towards the end, so we can keep things moving, but I have another poll for you guys about your preferences. And that code is right there, 7700465. If some I'm saying if somebody, I could get that in the Can I get that in the chat?
What do you need? Oh, okay.
If you could just type that in the chat, because I'm looking at you guys, because I was seeing something, unless I can do. So, cool. Awesome. I don't know if the spaces are important or not. I have both ways. So, quick fire, starting with Tanwin, favorite or best and worst homebrew component or house rule that you use?
Ooh.
My favorite is one I'm yet to actually try, and it's a using Sly Flourish's fiasco relationships in D&D for establishing character bonds. So I'm just going to post the link to it in the chat.
That would be awesome, because that sounds like a lot of words that I tried to write down.
So
and
go on. And then my worst, I would say, basically anything that makes combat longer. Makes combat take more time. So anything that, yeah.
That gunks up the works.
Yeah.
I hear you. Dave.
Best and worst, huh?
Homebrew component or house roll first? Yeah.
All right, house roll first. Got it. My favorite house roll has got to be the Rat of Death. You'll probably hear it again, the Rat of Doom. My house rule is if arguments start over everything and people are arguing over rules, they get the Rat of Doom. I have a small beanbag rat that I throw at them. That's gotta be my favorite house rule.
That's good. I'm gonna use that one.
I like it.
And your least favorite homebrew or house rule that you've come across?
Oh, geez. There was the worst RPG I ever found was a game called Cyborg. Yeah, it came in a little box, so it wasn't just one of those photocopied, early day books. It was actually a box edition, and everyone thought it would be great to look at this. Well, we took about maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and realized this was just a piece of junk. So that was the worst game. Best game was actually Heroes Unlimited from Palladium Books, and I ran a superhero campaign there for about 4.5 years straight, something like that.
That's dedication. You really loved it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was more about the group than it was about the system. The system's a bit chunky, crunchy, but the camaraderie at the table was just awesome. And we've kind of recreated it on Saturdays now. I do a televised superhero game, and everyone's just loving it. They want to play that more than the other things. So that has to be my favorite.
Awesome. Every time somebody says crunchy about rules, I like taste a crunchy bar in my head, and I wonder what the neuroscience on that is. Vinny,
A couple people that can find
favorite, best and worst homebrew component or house rule?
My favorite homebrew component house rule right now is you spend an action and drink a healing potion. Don't roll; you just get max. But if you do a bonus action and drink it, you have to roll. Where if you feel
That's interesting.
You can actually roll.
That would have saved my life.
Yeah.
Go on.
Worst one is crits applying to saving throws. If you get a nat 1, you end up taking double damage, and if you get a nat 20, you take no damage. And I'm like, no, that can be really bad with a fireball and just ruin somebody's day completely. So I don't do that at all.
Oh my gosh, I've got a wild magic sorceress, and if I did that, everybody would be dead. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah. Valve, best and worst homebrew component or house rule?
I really don't have a worse one. I mean, it's to whoever wants to run it. But the best one of the ones that I used to use, I actually like it a lot. Is give the option they can roll their perception check or I roll their perception check. If you let me roll it, you don't know what the number is, and you get +2 to the roll.
Oh,
interesting.
So it keeps the
that
whole.
keeps the story moving more.
It also keeps the whole. Oh, I rolled a perception check. I rolled a nat 1. Well, I want to roll a perception check too.
That makes
It removes the meta concept of it. Yeah, I like that.
So it kind of helps that, and so I could roll a nat 20 and tell them everything, or I could roll 1 and they would never know like what I rolled, if I rolled good or bad. They just get what I decide to tell them, what they get from the check.
I also like that for spellcasters because I as a spellcaster, I feel like rolling checks sometimes takes away from my planning for things, especially in like combat. So that giving some of that autonomy can be really useful. Moving on, best and worst unusual race or class combo.
I would say the worst that I've come across was I had a player who always wanted to play Dragonborn no matter what class they played. And the power gamer in me cringed every time. But I mean they made it work badly. And my best I don't know. I think my best was I don't know if it would be an unusual one, but I played a halfling monk in a campaign, and it was just so much fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, a drunken master halfling monk who was just really good at running in and smacking people around and then dipping out.
If any,
Sound familiar, Val?
that reminds me so much of the little mini like flea-like characters from Inuyasha and Rama One Half. That's adorable and I love it. Dave.
Yeah. Question again?
Best and worst unusual race class combo.
Oh, unusual race class combo. I can't do gnome barbarian. It's been done too much, but that one's a kind of a crazy combination. Let's see. This is a tough one. I've seen so many of them over the years.
The first one that pops.
Oh, yeah, they're not. So let's go to the best combo: octopus and a fuzzy kitten for a catapus. A friend of mine recently made that one, and it's been absolutely hilarious. The antics that go on with it.
Does the octopus have like claws at the end of its tentacles?
Yep. It's a regular octopus, except it's covered in kitten hair, and
that's cute and terrifying.
Hey,
Crimson,
right?
huh?
Nothing.
Crimson wants to know things about halfling barbarians. We'll get to that. Vinny, best worst unusual race class combo.
Best right now, stuck in my mind, are going to be serving my own needs. A Goliath Artificer. Armor class. The armor subclass. Named Stark. Kind of blatantly stealing that one.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. The worst one, I don't think I have a worst one. I think anything is fun to play. I mean, if somebody wants to play something strange off the wall, that's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, best and worst, but I've also been told to ask you about your halfling barbarian.
Yeah, so I ran a halfling barbarian that his rage was, he had a Napoleon complex, so his rage is fueled by everybody that was taller than him. So anytime he killed something, he cut it in half so it would be shorter than he was.
Did you go around collecting their legs?
No, I didn't collect the legs. I just made sure that I cut them in half and left them like with their torso kind of like up, so just made sure it was shorter than me. Sometimes, like with giants and stuff, you'd have to like cut off everything except for the head and just put the head there.
Does Fury of the Small help with being a halfling barbarian?
Yeah, I mean it worked pretty good for me.
That's awesome.
Actually the one player that is playing in Netherdeep right now, it's one of my friends. I played with him since I was a teenager. He has modeled his character after the White Rabbit in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So he's playing the Haragon barbarian with the Call of the Beast.
I was gonna say
so that
That's
so
awesome.
like when he goes into a rage, he gets the big like bunny maul and he bites people.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome.
So
that's awesome. By the way, I think
Run away!
I think we should create a Netherdeep support group of DMs.
Yeah.
And I just remembered the best class race combo. I completely forgot about Mo the Wonder Chicken. He was a black rooster ninja in the Teenage Turtles game.
Nice.
Yep.
That's awesome.
I actually ran a TMNT and D&D 5e one shot. That was pretty fun.
Oh yeah. In 5e, that would be interesting.
I'm about to turn into a barbarian because I spent a lot of time picking out these gifts and now they're not playing. So I'll share the presentation if anybody wanted to look at my like very well curated gifts that have told me that they're not going to work. So yeah, moving right along. Unusual multi-class combo.
My unusual multi-class combo would be I've never had a player do multi-class before.
That is an unusual multi-class combo.
So unusual multi-class combo is none. But I homebrew. Well, I built a character to then turn into a big bad evil guy. And he was a Hexblade Warlock crossed with Paladin. So that was really interesting. Very much built to like do as much showy damage up front as possible, and then have all of his friends, all of his party support him behind the scenes. So that was really cool.
Oath of Vengeance, I'm guessing.
No, it was I think it was No, it was Hexblade. It was a Hexblade warlock. And Paladin was, I think it was Oath of Conquest we ended up, because this whole thing was about basically he wanted to be the best and be seen as the best. And so yeah, but and then in the end, because running a entire character in a combat as a GM while also running all of the other really complicated stat blocks, I kind of broke him down into just kind of a standard, and just into a monster stat block. But that was an interesting exercise in like summarizing.
Did he catch all your PCs?
They're currently, that's my game this afternoon, is we're gonna finish off the combat that they started 2 months ago.
That's awesome. They've had
we'll
enough time
see how
to
he
plan.
does. Yeah.
Dave, best, worst, unusual multi-class combo.
Best, worst multi-class combo. Anything combined with a rogue is worst. Most of my folks don't really multi-class a whole lot. I've really, in the last 30 years, I've only run into it about 4 times, so I don't have a large group to choose from. And just go by what I would run, and I like a combination of War Priest with just about anything else, because it can complement in so many different ways and be a terror on the battlefield.
That is so true. Vinny.
Best combo. I prefer solo classes myself. But the worst one I've seen is the Coffee Lock, the Warlock Sorcerer that sacrifices Warlock spells to get Sorcerer points and then gets them back after an hour.
Good grief.
Yeah, it's a bit of a broken exploit.
Right.
Mel?
I don't. Multi-classes don't come up too much. Usually it's just a dip, as he said, into rogue to get sneak attack. It's half the people do. I will tell you though that the Napoleon Complex Barbarian I made was part wizard, so that he could cast Enlarge on himself.
That's
so
awesome.
When he's going around, he would actually be taller than other people.
I need a buddy cop. I need like a buddy cop movie with that character and somebody else.
Yeah, he got wizard just to do that.
That's fair. As DMs, best and worst storytelling tools. Where my mind went with this was, are there any really, really good free ones? Are there any like pricey ones that are worth it? Are there any pricey ones people should stay away from?
Oh.
It's a good question.
I feel like there's like no really specific storytelling tools that I use. I kind of just use a huge jumble of different stuff. And again, it really depends on what your gameplay is. I think I'll just go with an easy one. So in terms of like storytelling tools, like third-party content, the one of the ones that I use quite regularly is City and Wild, which is a kind of like a handbook. It's a D&D supplement that covers like equipment in stores and like building up a modular structure and creating guilds. And then it's got like the wild part covers surviving in the wild, and it like fleshes out kind of exploration in the wild a little bit, makes it feel more real. And then it also has a complete crafting guide, and it breaks down per monster what parts you might harvest from a monster. So I think it goes through all of the monster manual monsters and we'll break it down. So I can't remember how much I paid for it, but I feel like I open it literally every session I run. So I would say that one has been really cool to kind of flesh out the world and open it up. I'll see if I can find a link for you and post it shortly. City and Wild.
My pen just died on me. Somebody just write it in the chat or send me a message. That's really awesome because I have the Slayer stake in my campaign right now, so that would be really useful for me. Dave.
Let's see. The worst, or no, one of the best recently is a thing called NPC with 1,000 faces. It's a flow chart to help build your NPCs with a lot more color and depth behind them, in a physical and a mental different ways. That could be anyway. It gives you a whole lot of quick and easy options to kickstart your mind. So that's been a good one. Another one is Monty Cook Games comes out with a lot of um, cards that you can draw, monster cards, asset cards. Um, they've even got some that help you kickstart an idea. So if you don't know what you're going to do that night, just draw a card from that, and it'll kickstart an idea pretty quickly. So as far as a prop goes and a useful tool, that's the best one.
Awesome. Vinny.
My go-to for building encounters for D&D is Kobold Fight Club. It's a website that pulls together all of the CRs and what books they're from for all the monsters. And you can type in your party makeup, and it'll tell you how balanced the encounter is and where to find the actual stat blocks. But my players also love that I use these creature loot books that you can what you get from harvesting from the kills. What the parts of the different creatures are good for, what they can be crafted into, a lot like what Tamlin was saying. So
I swear that is something that I've had so many players get interested in, is the idea of like harvesting from their kills and fleshing out that crafting and alchemy side of things.
I've got 4 books that I got from a guy they're called Creature Loot. There's one for the Monster Manual, Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, Tomb of Annihilation, and Volo's Guide. So
nice.
Plenty to choose from.
Awesome. Belle. Did I say Vinny? No, that was Vinny. I apologize. Belle.
I mean, I use a lot of map making tools. Incarnate. I did Dungeon Alchemist when they did the Kickstarter, and that's been pretty fun to play around with. To be honest with you, like for storytelling needs, like other DMs it's fun literally to get into a Discord and just be like, all right, you write a line, then somebody else writes a line, and then you kind of flush out this whole story. The 5-year Lost thing that their stream that we did on Room into Gaming that I DM'd actually started as that. Me and my other friend that were a DM, we literally just went back and forth. Go to this town. There's people that are made out of ashes that are statues. There's this, there's that, and then like we just kept adding onto it, and it kind of flushed out into a whole story, which is really cool.
That's cool.
That's awesome. The next few are going to be like really, really quick fire, so we can move on to some of the stories. Best and worst feat or ability?
I absolutely hate alert.
Alert sucks.
Don't take alert.
Although I have been using it, I've been using a character's fear of spiders to the max. Now she can just hear spiders.
Alert and Sentinel both suck.
I think I don't really have a favorite. I don't actually play with a lot of feats, but I did build a rogue that had crossbow expert, and that was a lot of fun to play. So just things that give you extra stuff that you can do in combat, or kind of add to that like flair.
I mean, that's the basics of any good board gaming, is make sure you get extra stuff, like extra moves, extra things. So yeah.
Exactly.
Dave.
Oh, what was the question again? It's best or worst?
Best, worst feat or ability.
Feat or ability, right? Sentinel. I hate it. I've been beat with that several times over the last few days. Yeah, tough to get around too. If you want to really build up the drama of combat with extra description, when somebody can keep doing what they do with Sentinel. It breaks it out of that flow. You think more about the rule than you do about the scene. At least as far as me as a GM looking over the screen at folks, it breaks me out of it. So I hate that one. Best combo. I believe in all of them. they're a lot of fun. I like my War Priest with the Polearm Master. That's a current one. Nobody takes Polearm Master. That ability to get an extra shot in and have your
telling you, always go for the extra shot.
Yeah, exactly. At range, really changes things on the dynamic. So I've been kicking around with that one for the last month or two and liking it.
My fiance is planning a monk, and he doesn't believe that dungeon like D&D has rules, and he's like, oh, the DM could just make anything up, and he's like, so you're gonna give me like extra moves, right? And I'm like, you already picked the class with extra moves, like that's all the extra moves you get. Vinny.
Favorite crossbow expert, polearm master. I like them both. Worst mechanically, grappler sucks. Not too fond of Sentinel either as a DM. If you want the bad guy to do a disengage, the player's like, nope.
Right.
So, yeah.
In the Aor section of campaign 2, Matt did shut down Sentinel pretty hard. I can't remember how, but if you're looking for a way to shut down Sentinel,
I'll have to look into it.
Yeah. Val.
Worst Sentinel alert, and I hate Lucky too because it's the easiest one for them to cheat on because I don't have time to keep track of how many Luckies they use that day.
Right.
And then I'll go back, especially the virtual table. You can go back and kind of count how many Luckies they did, and usually it's more than 3. The best one, my favorite feat out of 5e still is Tavern Brawler. I love Tavern Brawler.
That's a fun one. That's a fun one.
So because you can use your own party members as weapons and you still get your proficiency bonus.
That's awesome. I'll have to tell my barbarian about that. Best and worst spell.
Oh God.
Off the top of your head.
I would say I really liked I think it's called Sunburst or Sunlight. It's a very high level, like 9th level spell or something, 8th or 9th level spell. And I just remembered my character, who was a pixie sorcerer, decimating an entire horde that was coming towards her in one go, just using that. And it was one of my best player moments ever.
That's what makes the spell your favorite spell. That's awesome.
Yeah. I've only used it once. But I think worst spell, I'd say something like Commune or like anything that has the players interacting with gods and things kind of throws out the balance in my mind because I don't feel like gods should be able to be reached that easily. So yeah, I think I like the idea of giving background to worlds and giving players inside knowledge and things, but I feel like when they use it to ask the wrong question, it really throws me as a GM, and I'm just like, I don't know what to tell you. The god doesn't give a shit.
Like, do you feel the same way about Commune with Nature, or is it just?
I feel like Commune with Nature is way easier. It's just more focusing on like divine things, because I mean, Commune with Nature is like tangible stuff that you can ask about, and whereas like the gods, like I often have players will ask these like big existential questions, and I'm like, I don't know, the god doesn't really care about you that much right now.
No, right?
I think I think there's a couple of different ones that my players use, and I'm just like, I'm over this. I'll give you the information, but we're not role playing this out.
Okay, cool. Dave.
Divination or anything along that line. Worst. Okay. As a GM, I find myself trying to make up when they just pull it out of the air that they're going to do divination or go to a priest to get divination. I wrote a poem while they were doing it. I totally missed half the scene of what they were doing because I was trying to write down something that I need for this divination casting. And anything that looks or messes with time is just a pain in the butt. Just a pain.
And you're doing Netherdeep.
Yeah, right. Yep. That's what the people's wants. That's what the people's get.
For anybody that's not a Critical Role fan or playing Netherdeep, there's an entire a subclass of wizards that can do Dunamancy, which is like specifically time and like time-based magic.
Yep.
And Netherdeep, it like starts in the area like of the world where this is most practiced. So that's where that joke came from. Best though, Dave? Best spell or favorite spell off the top of your head?
Grease. It's got to be the best spell.
It's a good spell. It's a good
bring
spell.
the biggest bad guy low with grease. Just drop him. I don't know. I think it's I think it's one of those that people don't think about, especially after they get to level 5, level 6. They start leaving that one alone if they played with it at all, and it can make a huge effect on any combat that's out there, unless they're flying. So I just think grease is one of the best spells out there. For the variety of things it can do. Or acid splash, I guess both fall into the same category. You know, you forget about it, but hey, if you want to pick a lock and you don't have picks, use acid splash to melt it, right? I mean, there's a lot of creative ways you can use it.
I love spells that can be used creatively in roleplay and in combat. Vinny, best worst spell?
Best spell, Minor Illusion, for the creativity you can bring to it. Worst, I think, would be like any of the divination ones, like everybody else has been saying, stuff that just ask for too many answers from the DM to break the game.
Cool. Val?
Worst spells, fucking polymorph. I hate that spell.
As in, it annoys you as a DM,
Yeah.
or okay?
Yeah, I'm a dinosaur now with like 500 hit points or whatever.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Well, I need to share that polymorphing into a dinosaur actually got me killed. Because I polymorphed into a dinosaur to give our rogue somewhere to hide to do sneak attacks, and then our rogue left me alone, and 5 people attacked me, and I was no longer a dinosaur because my concentration broke, and they wound up getting me killed because the rogue like left me alone.
The best thing is when the wizard casts it on somebody else, because the wizard's not getting hit in the polymorph. He casts it on one of his friends, so they're getting hit. They don't have to make concentration checks. It just screws everything.
That's fair. I could have cast it on her as well, but I wanted her to use her rogue abilities, and I was low on health, so I was like, okay, I'm low on health. What do? I polymorph. Yeah, go on.
One of my favorites is modify memory.
That's fun. It's creepy though. I do have to say.
I used it to something that somebody made this awesome like check that they really shouldn't have seen, something that they shouldn't have, and they tried to like take it to the a corrupt figure, and then they used modified memory to make them forget it. So really cool.
Awesome. Best and worst magical item quickly, or item, just plain item.
I'm sorry, I was just finding.
No, it's
resources.
cool. You're giving lots of things to use.
My best magical item would be a homebrew item that I made for our party's warlock, who's all about money. His name is Dane Draper, and he's based on Don Draper from Mad Men, and he it's called the Rod of Plentiful Wealth. And it basically there's like a at-will ability that you can use to distract someone for a round by showering illusory gems in an area. And then there's also a ability that you can use to petrify someone into gold, and it's a pretty high level magic item, but that was so much fun to give to him, and just like seeing him use it in combat was magical. That, but he also had to pay gold for it to recharge as well. So it was like it was this kind of, if he wanted to use these abilities, he had to then also give up his own wealth, which was like the best two-sided thing. And then in terms of worst, usually it's just kind of like a +1 weapon or +1 armor. I think it's just, it lacks flavor, and as a GM, every time I give out something like that, I want to give it other benefits, whether it's like gives you the ability to cast a cantrip, or possibly even just has flavor in terms of what it looks like and the story behind it.
And it can be roleplay based. It doesn't have to be like combat based, the power that it gives, right? So yeah. Dave, best worst magical item.
Worst one, anything with intelligence.
Anything that has like a sentient magical item.
A sentient magical item, yeah.
Not something that boosts intelligence, a sentient magical item.
A sentient magical item, yeah. They drive me crazy. I've got to have this other NPC in my head along with all the other NPCs in my head and make sure that that NPC is consistent in behavior and attitude and all that. And it just adds a level of complexity to the game that sometimes is not worth the extra effort. Especially if they get into arguments with the bearer of the weapon. Can create some tense moments too. So I mean, I just don't like them.
And so, your best?
And the best, anything that gives you the ability to speak with plants and animals. Because they can find out so much information to derail you. At the door, I've got to run, so I'll have to pass on the rest of the answer.
Oh no!
So sorry.
No, don't apologize. We're nearing our time, so that's why I'm trying to push and get to at least one story-based thing. So Vinny, best worst magical item.
Worst magical item or any of the bag of tricks. I hate when players have more animals and things to throw out on the battlefield and complicate the combat.
That's fair.
My favorite magical item is an iron pig that eats up all the coins in the area. Basically a bottomless piggy bank. So the players don't have to worry about coin weight.
That's cute.
Restart itself and squeal like a pig when it's being attacked. So,
Belle.
Worst is anything that has a warning attached to it, because it literally takes out any surprise in the whole campaign. You can't set up ambushes. You can't do anything because it literally says they can't be surprised.
Good point.
Anything that's I've actually banned a warning stuff in some of my games because it gets ridiculous.
It breaks the flow for sure.
Yeah, best is I actually made a magical item that I've used in 2 campaigns now. It's a shield that has different emotions and gives them different powers and abilities depending on how the shield is feeling that morning. They roll randomly, and then they can also try to make a persuasion check to get a certain emotion that they want. But if they fail, then the shield goes dormant. They don't get any benefits for that day.
That's really awesome. And
the shield's mad at them.
Could you share that with everybody somehow? That's awesome. I love that. We have like 9 minutes, so I don't know how much we can do in that time.
Actually, there were a few questions in chat, so take like the next 5 minutes to go through those, maybe.
I saw yours. Everybody's having like a conversation, so I'm struggling a little bit to see some questions. So I'll go with yours first. And then if you wanted to pop in, or somebody wanted to pop in and ask one of the questions, that would that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Awesome. So Crimson asked, best and worst player character concepts.
Oh God. I feel like this one is both the best and the worst that I've come across. My 2.5-year-long campaign, one of my players created a failed wizard who was going to eventually switch to being a bard. Wasn't going to multi-class, was just going to do a full class switch. And I thought it became incredibly frustrating because he purposefully built his character to be better at being a bard than he was a wizard. And And I think initially I had it in my mind that he would be switching to being a bard really early on in the campaign, but no, he was planning for this to be a really long-term thing and wanted to like hit complete rock bottom before.
So like his charisma was his highest stat and intelligence was lower then?
Intelligence was relatively low, and he also just happened to roll terribly a lot. And so it was like really interesting as a challenge for me as the GM, and ultimately he's become one of the most treasured characters in the campaign.
Right.
But it's just been a really interesting one because he kind of had such big ideas that weren't communicated early on, and so the rest of the player who I have people in my group who are like full-on power gamers who got very frustrated with him purposefully underbuilding his character. But yeah, I think it's like really interesting how kind of he's turned from being kind of a really uncomfortable character concept for players
character development.
to then like being he hasn't even become a bard yet. Like he's still an underpowered wizard, but just the character development that's gone on has been amazing. So
will he convert level to level? Like he's not going to start at bard level 1. So is there
I don't know because we're going on hiatus after our combat today, so I'm not sure what's gonna happen with that. So we'll see.
I'd love to know. We should connect.
I'll just stick around and update.
Yeah. Dave had left, correct?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So best and worst player character concept.
Best and worst. My best, I think, was Bold Bright Light. He was 1800 strength, but he had an IQ of 7.
Oh, that's going back.
Yeah, it's going back quite a ways. The party got very upset with him once because when they were going through a treasure trove, he found a lamp and rubbed it and tried to clean it off. And he found the genie, and all he wanted was ham and cheese on rye. He looked down and said, I've got my armor, I've got my shield, I've got my horse. I'm hungry. I want a ham and cheese on rye. And the group just went crazy about it because he was getting angry with him. So we had this big emotional moment where everyone's flipping out, and the genie finally ends up giving him a bag of perpetual ham and cheese on rye because the genie got mad that that's all he was asking for too. He took it as an insult. So that's probably the best character concept that I had. Running something that is so not me. Trying to get myself into thinking in that way, but it was challenging.
Vinny, best worst player character concept.
Worst concept is one designed to cause as much friction with the rest of the group as possible. Like, if somebody who's going to be a pacifist or just anti-authoritarian and just constantly giving the guards in town a hard time just to get the party in trouble because they're looking for drama and they don't want to jibe and vibe with the rest of the group.
Got a lot of that going on.
The lone wolf.
Yeah. Aforementioned fiance, by the way, was like, I want to be a pacifist, and I was like, you can't. But now our whole party's on board, and we turned him into a healing monk, which exists.
Yeah.
So like I was like, you're just making my job a little bit harder, but we can get there. But like I laid down the law. I was like, you have to do something in combat, and you have to participate. You cannot just be like, I'm gonna be a pacifist and go drink tea.
Yeah, I was in a Deadlands campaign, and one player wanted to be a pacifist, and I'm like, we're fighting monsters in the Wild West. You can't be a pacifist. It's not
like,
gonna work.
in Netherdeep, it might work, but like it definitely depends on what you're doing and the people that you have. Because I told my barbarian this, like I gave everybody the heads up he was going to do this. My barbarian's like, I just get to do more damage, and I was like, okay, like I'm the only one annoyed, so so we're gonna be okay. Mel.
I mean, I already told 2 of mine, so there's another one. I made a a druid, fey druid druid of the summer court when I first came out, and he had showed up from the Feywild and in front of a bunch of lizard people, and they regarded him as a deity, and he leaned heavily into that. And the whole other group knew that he wasn't a deity, but he would go around lizard people, and they would just piss him off because they would worship him anyway, and he would get free stuff from them, and it was pretty awesome. So.
All right, I wanna speed ask a question. Okay, I'm gonna say your name and you're gonna say yes or no. Question was asked much earlier. I want to know if it's hard to play a bard. So, Tamlin?
No.
Dave?
It's not.
Yes.
Vinny?
No.
Vel?
No.
All right, well, Dave's the odd man out. Bye, Dave. You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Goodbye. No.
I want to thank we got to rush this. Sorry. I want to thank everybody, all of the DMs for being here. You are absolutely wonderful and amazing. We have Roll the Die. We have Cast Gamers, Real Women of Gaming. And I'm so excited to be here doing this and hanging out with everybody. So have an amazing rest of the con. We have getting into comic books coming up next. Go do things, and I will make sure that everybody has put their information where they can find them and ask them more questions in the panel chat. So please do that, panelists. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Cheers.